I'm Renee Lobo. Today is a defining day in the nation's political landscape. As Americans go to the polls to elect the next president of the U.S., we at QPTV bring you special election night coverage. It's your voice, your choice, your vote 2012. Will it be 4 more years for President Obama, or will it be the Republican challenger, Governor Mitt Romney? This is one of the closest races in history, and as the night goes on, we should know who will win the White House and take the country forward for the next 4 years. Joining me is Caitlin Monte, Miss New York 2011. Caitlin is a strong advocate for anti-bullying. We also have video journalist Sam Shivraj, a student at Baruch College. This evening, we'll be bringing you an in-depth analysis of both local and national elections live, and also taking your phone calls. Today, voters will make their choice known for local and national elections on issues that are critical to them, from foreign policy to fiscal policy, to education, healthcare, budget deficit, our future. While all eyes are on the polls, our minds are still wrapped around the massive destruction caused by Hurricane Sandy. Our prayers go out to all who have suffered nature's wrath and fury in the last few days, and we hope our neighborhoods and our communities recover quickly from the superstorm's devastation. We have a lot of guests lined up today for sharing their views on our QPTV special. It's your voice, your choice, your vote 2012. Let's talk first to New York City Controller John Liu. Thank you, John, for coming here. You're my first guest for tonight. And tell us, today all speculation will end. It's the actual votes.
It's Decision 2012.
It's Decision 2012, the road to the White House.
That's right.
The
road to many things.
The road to many things, exactly, because all politics is local.
Yes.
And we're having a we have a senatorial race over here. We have a congressional race at the same time, assembly race as well. So let's touch a little bit about the 270 electoral votes. What's your take on today's Decision 2012?
Well, we are a number of hours away from all of the people in this country finishing their voting. I recall today happens to be my son's 12th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yes, thank you. And when Joey was born 12 years ago,
wow.
My wife and I, we went to sleep that night thinking we had elected a president. And when we woke up the following morning, it was the other person.
Right.
So you never know what happens. And
Sure.
This one is going to be a close one, as you mentioned.
It's very close.
I'm optimistic that President Obama will pull through. I think we need him. I think the nation needs him for another 4 years. And he inherited a very, very difficult situation. And through all of his efforts, I think the nation was better off for it. And he needs to have the time to continue his policies. Here at the local level, we have a number of
Right.
congressional, state senatorial,
Right.
and state assembly races happening that will be very important to the people of these communities, especially ever-changing communities like we have here in Queens.
Right. Now we have state Senate majority, Republican majority right now. We had first time in 2008 to 2010, we had a Democratic majority. Then things changed around. What do you think? What's your take on the senatorial race with Dabo and
Renee,
Eric Ulrich?
I think we're just too close to the final deadline.
Too close to call.
Yes, I mean we're an hour and a half away from the close of polls. So
Right.
I prefer not to speculate at this point. But obviously, it's going to be close because the balance in the Senate, the Democrat-Republican balance, is very close. Whether the Democrats will be able to retake the Senate, I hope they will. But it's questionable at this point.
Right. Now, tell me, I know that Hurricane Sandy, and it's created a big impact, not just on the presidential elections as well, because it's how a president deals with something so disastrous.
Right.
Now, what's your take? I know that you, as a city controller, you're giving out a lot of emergency contracts daily because there's so much of disaster relief efforts going on, whether it's Breezy Point, Far Rockaway.
Sure.
Even in Queens College, we have the gym made as a shelter right now. Tell us, you're putting out a lot of emergency contracts, so this is creating also jobs.
Well, it's, I guess, if you were to look for a silver lining, any kind of silver lining, there might be jobs down the road. But let's not forget that there are still lots of people in a great deal of pain, while some people in the city are complaining about their lack of electricity
Right.
or lack of cell phone signal. There are many people in Queens who are not complaining about any of that because there's no electricity for them to turn on anymore
Yeah, there's
because
no
their homes have been wiped
Exactly.
out. I was in the Rockaways this morning with some of the relief efforts at a few of the churches, and people are still in great need. And it is freezing out there.
Yes.
I mean, when this first happened last week, at least the weather was not as frigid as it is. Today, it is just downright frigid out in the Rockaways and in many parts of the city where people are still hurting. So the storm has taken a tremendous toll on the city. You spoke of the emergency contract.
Right.
My office has already approved, at this point, close to $100 million of emergency expenditures. We've also lost, in the days immediately after Hurricane Sandy, lost about 80% of our normal economic output, which is a loss of, at the end of the day, probably $5 billion. A lot of it will be recovered, but probably up to $1 billion of economic output that is permanently lost. So no question, this storm has taken a huge toll on the people of New York City as well as the region. You mentioned the jobs created. I think that there will be jobs. Obviously,
Construction jobs,
we
yeah.
certainly wish that this hurricane did not happen. But given that it has happened, we're going to fight to get federal reimbursement for the city's outlays in terms of the damage done to public property. The private homeowners and small businesses, they will undoubtedly have billions of dollars of insurance claims. And those who are not properly insured, we're going to help them get FEMA or federal
Right.
relief assistance as well. So that will be, maybe several months down the road, a year down the road from now, billions of dollars of money, construction money being poured into New York City. So that may create some jobs. But right now, we still have to figure out how to clean up the major
You're
parts of the
talking
city.
recovery, rebuilding, which is going to take a while.
Yes, and we have tens of thousands of people who are now newly homeless, and the winter months are bearing upon us. So it's going to be a very challenging situation, no question.
We knew the storm was